Johnson, and I am the president and serve as the presiding officer of over the Board of Library Trustees. In consideration of others and the business conducted tonight, please silence your phones and any electronic devices and refrain from speaking unless recognized. Again, this is a public meeting for the community of Glendora. We appreciate and respect your participation here this evening. Roll call. Does anyone, leading us tonight in the Pledge of Allegiance is Erica Landman.
Do we need to do roll call?
So for roll call, let the record show that all trustees are present.
Okay, please stand for the pledge. Right hand over your heart. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Trustee Landman. Does anyone wish to reorder or add anything to the agenda tonight? Okay, seeing that there is none, I am going to invite members of the public to address the legislative body. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes, speaking once both on and off agenda items. Are there any speakers wanting to speak this evening?
We have no speakers, and we do not have any speaker cards as well.
Okay, seeing that there is none, we will move forward to board statements and reports. Trustee Landman would like to share out.
Hello, everybody. Happy St. Patrick's Day. It looks very green in here. That's nice. I wanted to share a few things. First, I want to thank the library staff for being very knowledgeable about how to handle the leaks. I'm very thankful for all your hard work, and I'm very sorry that you have to still be doing that years past, but hopefully that will change soon. So you guys are the best, so thank you so much. I also wanted to say I am very sorry that I didn't bring it today. I forgot it. But from my school's PTA, Sierra Vista PTA, I got Outstanding Teacher Award from the PTA, and I'm one of 8 teachers since 1964 to have received it. And I was very proud. So that was really cool. And then a super fun thing. This last weekend, I went up to Sacramento as a California delegate, but of course I had to go and hit the libraries. So the only library I could visit that was open on Saturday in Sacramento was the city library. So all the county libraries were closed. But I'm going to share some pictures and stuff I learned the next meeting. So it was really nice. So it was fun. So that's all.
Excellent. I would like to share out that this past Friday evening was the Great Trivia Night, which was a huge success. So kudos to all of the people that worked so hard on the event. It was very evident, all of the hard work, effort, years of dedication and learning from that event that went into it. So thank you so much to the staff. I know that everyone had an amazing time that was there. And nice, festive, amazing atmosphere, and looking forward to doing it next year as well. So thank you very much to you. And I would like to share out that my son Will has earned his Eagle Scout Award for Scouts. Thank you. And how it applies to us this evening is that he worked, it was cute, right? He worked with the El Monte Coalition of Latino Professionals. They run a series of little free libraries in the city of El Monte. The city of El Monte is a book desert. There is no way to purchase a book in the city of El Monte. So all literacy is accessed with the children through school libraries and the public libraries. But as you know, transportation can be difficult and hours of operation can be constricting. So the Little Free Libraries fulfill a huge need in the city of El Monte. He built 5 libraries and they are already being installed and used. So that was kind of a fun little library moment outside the city of Glendora.
I'll just add a big thank you to the Friends Foundation for the great trivia challenge that they put on, and looking forward to hearing how much money they ended up raising. It was a really fun night.
Nice. And now we will move on to our next agenda item, Agenda 2. And I would like to invite a report from Library Director Janet Stone.
Thank you very much. It's good to see everyone. Happy St. Patrick's Day all around. As usual, there is a written report, actually a few of them, in the packet that is available to the entire community online. I will be just offering a few updates to that this evening. The first thing I want to mention is the statistics summary that is usually part of that report. We had some statistics that were not ready simply because of the timing of the meeting in the month. So we will be pulling this February statistics as well as the March statistics for you for the April packet, assuming that we get all of those squared away at the beginning of April. However, because there were some questions about our marketing and how our statistics reflect our efforts at sharing our opportunities with the public, we did look more into the visibility statistics that are part of that summary every month, and we really don't maintain a lot more detail than what we usually report out there. So what we did to give you a different view of our marketing was to include in this case a financial breakdown of the money that is dedicated toward different kinds of marketing efforts, so that even though there aren't other statistics in terms of public outreach other than what you see every month, we wanted you to have this additional perspective, and we're happy to answer any questions about those. Let's see. So a few things that have happened since we met last, and a few things that will be happening in between now and our next meeting. First of all, at the February 25th City Council meeting, they approved an agreement for an ADA self-evaluation and transition plan for the entire city. And the project is going to involve participation from all the departments through interviews and input, and it will not be just about physical barriers, but also programs, services, employment, and communication barriers. So it's a multi-year project, and it gets kicked off at our first meeting early in April, but I just wanted to share that had happened, and that goes right along with some of our public library responsibilities, of course. The next thing that has happened since we last gathered was that we had part 2 of our Star Service celebrations. So our Star Service effort in the library is about some interpersonal awards that we can offer each other, kudos and gratitude. Also, whenever we get those from the public, we combine all of those sort of gestures of thanks and written documents together, and we have a monthly Star Service awardee, and then we also have an annual one. And we celebrate each year the annual awardees with the working awards breakfast and then an after-hour sort of playtime for the staff, which is what's happened since we last saw you. All of the staff, of course, works their magic, and we would like to invite you to meet a couple of our actual top of the cream of the crop Star Service folks from 2024. One of our runners-up, Rose Mecca, and our 2024 Star Service star, Gaetano Abundanza, are both here. If you would like to come up to the podium. And I'm sure they'd be happy to answer any questions you might have about their experience serving external as well as internal customers, because a lot of our Star Service effort is about how these folks really improve the quality of life for the public, but also for each other on a day-to-day basis. So anyway, Rose and Gaetan, and also if you have anything you would like to share with the board. So just wanted you all to meet each other.
What would you say your favorite part of the day is? You know, involving helping out the public.
Oh, it's always, you have such a wide cross-section of society that comes in. So it's never, sometimes no two days are the same. So it's just the questions and people's experiences. And I always say it's like being a bartender minus the alcohol. So people come in, they tell you everything about themselves. You learn a lot about people and their backgrounds, what their needs are, and just helping that. It's localism, make that connection with a small part of their day, which could have a big impact for them, whether it's helping someone on the computer, download a form, instructions, whatever. It makes a big part of their day, and so it's not doesn't show up in a grand scheme of things, but for that person, it's a huge thing. So that's what I enjoy is just the direct help for people who need it.
And I just add, getting the smile once you've accomplished what they've asked for is always the best part for me, just seeing how pleased they are with what we've done and the services we provide.
Nice. And I'd like to compliment you because I noticed something new to me, but I think it is new. On the City of Glendora website, there you have now connected your art tour, that there's, you can click directly from the City of Glendora's website. And so I thought that was an incredible addition because what you constructed is now like filtering into multiple aspects of the city where, more people can see all of the great things to see here in Glendora.
Yeah, and that was a project by long project with a lot of our staff, and connected that as well to our local history walking tours. Or just people don't know what's out their own front door, at their own fingertips. So just bringing that Glendora history to people and making them aware of it, and so that's a valuable thing.
A really great addition. Really well done.
I have a question. Are you leading the walk that starts at the coffee?
Yeah, I did the first
The
two.
leader. How many people showed up?
We
How'd you
had
like it?
about 10 people, which is we capped it around that number with a waiting list if necessary. For a walking tour, that's about the ideal number. Yeah,
Was that the first one?
we've done two so far.
Two,
We have two more scheduled.
Okay. That looked fun.
He also practices them, so, maybe earlier in the week if you want to stop by for a practice run.
Are you going to do the haunted tour too?
Well, that's a driving tour because the sites are so spread out.
There's some around.
We could,
here.
yeah.
How far do you go? Like how far
for
do you get
for the
to?
walking tour. So it was based on a much larger tour. We've taken pieces of it, and so about 4 or 5 sites per tour, and just all within half mile at most, quarter mile. Just I picked sites that were like easily accessed with each other. So it's just like a short taste, a little bite size. So about 5 stops, just up the street or down whatever Glendora Avenue or Foothill. Yeah.
Perfect. Cool. Great job.
Anyone else?
Well, I would like, I've remembered you from the library since I was a kid. So thank you so much for your service to the library and your continuous service. And it's nice to see like over time on the board that, like you guys are the faces of the library in the front, but being here and like going through all the meetings and learning what you guys do behind the scenes, including these tours, it's not just like helping people at the service desk and helping them find books and find forms and using the computers, but the programs that go on, you guys are also working on those too. And I think it's great that, I think more people should know about that. So I'm happy that you guys are being recognized for your work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So you already have heard how Gaetano, well, they both work the public service desks, and of course Gaetano is sort of Mr. History. Rose also has been key, instrumental to our Bidwell and Friends Room reservation processes. So she's interacted with a lot of different people and city organizations and that sort of thing. And the staff as a whole, they're sort of our own sort of city's own sort of Price Waterhouse, if you are old old Oscar watchers like me, in that they had the confidential assignment of creating some of the questions for the Great Trivia Challenge. And so, of course, we were not allowed to have a team, and we were not allowed to speak about, about the questions, because it was all, top secret. I don't think anybody walked around with a briefcase chained to their wrist, but anyway, so yes, there is a lot that happens behind the scenes. Anyway, thank you so much for being here tonight, and thank you for all you do, like I said, for the quality of life in the community, but also just for each other in the library. It really makes a huge difference. All right. Let's see. Mentioning the Trivia Challenge, I wanted also to just give a shout out to the Friends Foundation for that wonderful fundraiser. And the last I heard, they were still crunching numbers, so I have nothing to report. I know it was mentioned. I was curious how they, how that went. And they are still adding up the receipts from that. Also, since we last met, I wanted to mention that at the March 11th City Council meeting, they returned to discussion of the city's facilities, capital needs, and the funding options for those. And according to the summary that's posted on the website, the directions that they wound up with at the end to staff were to provide a general description to council of all the major city facility needs, clearly identifying estimated costs for each facility, to provide a summary of financing scenarios involving bond issuance, and explore contracting with a consultant to document the visual impact of the needed improvements. So that's what staff has been tasked with after that discussion was sort of resurrected with council this spring. It was just a verbal that I heard the city manager that night say that he thought we could do that next quarter. So stay tuned in terms of, I think, what they hear back on all those fronts will play into our calculation of the next joint meeting. As you know, one of the reasons I come back and talk about this stuff is because we have a history of meeting jointly with the council, and we're trying to strategize on when the next best one of those would be. So probably after that, all of that information has been provided and has been made available to the public, we'll keep an ear out for when it's good to bring the bodies back together again. Let's see here. Over the weekend, and I'm using some of the wording that came from the state librarian. So this was a statement from the California state librarian. President Trump issued an executive order targeting the Institute for Museum and Library Services, which provides federal funding to support libraries in California and the other 49 states. And basically, the statement indicated it's not yet clear what the action will eventually mean for funding in California, and the bulk of it is the state library uses to support local libraries. So the Congress has been explicit in the past, specifically 2018, according to the state librarian, that in the 2018 Museum and Library Services Act, that the Institute is statutory and required to send federal funding to state libraries under the Grants to States program. So we still have to see what's going to happen with the funding. And they will keep us posted, and I will keep you posted. So that was just this last weekend. Back in December, I actually asked the managers to start looking at possibilities like this to see what those impacts might be. Most of the impacts, as the funds trickle down to us through the state, would be to our e-library. And we have been assessing those e-library resources for, to see what would be best to retain, if there are alternates for those, if there are alternate funding for the ones we want to keep. And so we are also, standing by with sort of plans at the ready to see what's going to happen with that. But we've had that sort of in our back pocket for a while, and that's just the latest from the state library on that. Let's see here. Speaking of things national, between now and the next time we meet, the National Library Week begins on April 7th. So please, community and board, keep an eye out on our calendars and in your email. We have a little slate of activities that we're planning, hopefully both that can be done in person, and for those that can't come in person, they can do them online. And And on, let's see, on April 8th, we're going to propose the usual proclamation to council. So we'll keep you posted on that as well. 10 days later, Citizen of the Year, April 17th, Gary and Kathy Boyer, longtime and very vocal library supporters and volunteers, not to mention, of course, all the other ways they serve the community. So that celebration is April 17th. And those are all the updates and projections I have between now and when we next meet. And I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions?
I have questions about the city councils for the bond. So in the meeting, they talked about, our council member Davis was saying that we still need citizens of the city to push forward the bond and take initiative for that. So at what, like, is this something that we should start getting prepared for with maybe the Friends Foundation, or like, should we put out some sort of, I don't know, what can the board do to help push that forward? Because I mean, just even going off of the YouTube views for all the council meetings and the boards and commissions, not a lot of people watch them. So how are we going to get the word out that we need some sort of representation from the city or from our own citizens to push this initiative forward? Otherwise, how is it going to get done?
So for those who may not be familiar with this idea of the Citizens Initiative, there are different percentages of voters required to pass initiatives that, in this case, in this particular case of the kind of funding that they're looking at, there's a different margin required for passage of a city initiative. It is lower if that initiative is brought to the ballot by the public. So that's yeah. So I just want to mention that for anybody who might just be tuning in, so to speak. So the thing that we are going to need to remember and will probably get a lot of advice on is that the city, the representatives of the city on city time, like under the city banner or using the city's titles, we can provide information about the impacts of the funding. We cannot solicit votes, we cannot solicit support, we cannot solicit that a lot of what you might be thinking of, we can't actively do, again, act on city time under city auspices. So it's not to say that there won't be opportunities for anyone who chooses to do that on their own time as private citizens, and it is yet to be seen if citizens step forward to front this initiative, then obviously we can offer them, contact information to places like the Friends Foundation, but it would be just as informational resources, not as any sort of, not related in any way to campaigning or furthering that cause from a voter's perspective. Mm-hmm. I'm sure I'm not using the right legal language for all of that, but the role, the official role that the board would be playing on city time, so to speak, is going to be strictly informational only, not furthering the cause, just explaining what the impacts of the initiative would be.
Okay, so perhaps post or like after you guys, after all the city departments are able to provide that report that city council requested for, would you think that what would be best for the library is to start putting on some sort of city or library events to showcase what is happening in the library as an update of like what's wrong with the library, how this impacts the citizens, how this could impact, the value of your house when you sell it, or like if the library is not in great condition. I'm just trying to look further down the road, because I feel like it's going to come fast.
Yeah.
And then once I don't know what the city councils, or like what the agenda would be to like get it onto the ballot in this coming year or next year, but like, it's gonna, yeah, I feel like it came by fast last year, and there wasn't enough time for us to do that, and they're like backtracking, okay, so by when do we need to have these things done? I don't know, I just feel like we should talk more about it to the extent that we can.
Yes.
And start planning ahead.
Yes, so, and thank you for that. It's really important. And there was even some, they even had to check at the city council meeting, I don't know if you were watching this part, but they even had to check at the city council meeting about what they could and could not say. This is not unique to us, that we're going to have to learn what it is that we can and cannot do. I don't know about, I honestly don't, about like the city or the library actually hosting something to showcase that. I don't know. Being able to, for the city to provide data to a citizens group that asks what might the effects be on property values, that sort of thing, that's different from hosting a gathering where you are saying, you know, look, here's the state of the facility. And I don't know the answer to those questions yet. I do know that we will be able to provide the statistics and the data and the informational stuff to say, here's what these scenarios would do, here's what will happen without them. But that proactive, there's probably a legal perspective on what's considered campaigning and what isn't. So those are really, really great questions, and even the council is, you know, is going to be on a learning curve from that perspective as well.
I have a question. Are we going to have an opportunity to have a joint meeting with the council, so then maybe we can all be filled in at the same time?
Right. It's one of the reasons that I mentioned the meeting that happened just recently is that I think it'd be best to wait until they get that, until they get the descriptions of the facility needs and the numbers about the bonds and the consultant, until that package of staff direction has been delivered. I mean, I can certainly explore with them whether we want to meet with them before that's, you know, those instructions have been fulfilled.
When are they expecting that to be?
Yeah, there was no,
like 6 months or?
yeah, there was no, in the summary, there was no concrete date. I just remember having, since I was here, I remember City Manager Adam Raymond saying next quarter, just verbally saying, I think we could do that for you next quarter. So, but there was no deadline that was given as part of the official direction. So I think next quarter, meaning, you know, by second, I would interpret that, if we're going to try to interpret that, as the next 3 months. So, but if you would prefer to start a discussion with them sooner, I can certainly, you know, approach city administration and find out what the environment is for something like that. Technically, this is, I mean, we can discuss anything that's on the agenda. We didn't really agendize this particular thing as, you know, as an action item. Perhaps the city clerk can advise us whether I can take direction based on this discussion.
You can bring back a report during your director's reporting
Okay.
for the next meeting.
Okay, great. Okay.
So at this point, are we ready to move on? Okay, at this point, we're going to go to the consent calendar. Items on the consent calendar will be enacted by one motion without individual discussion unless a trustee has requested it be removed for separate discussion. Does anyone wish to pull or comment on any consent calendar items? I would like to request a motion.
I motion to approve the consent item, calendar items.
Do we have a second?
I would like to second it. We aren't pushing buttons, right?
No.
Okay.
Okay.
You can now vote.
Pardon?
You can now vote on the
Yeah, vote.
monitor. Motion carries 4-0.
Okay.
Would have been funny if we had mug shots.
Okay. New business.
Angry, serious looks.
So a review of library administrative policy. And I would like to invite Library Services Manager Donna Dukes to report.
Good evening. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Thank you for having me up here. I'm going to talk about our circulation policy and some updates that we're recommending be made to it. So just a little bit of background. The library board continuously reviews all library policies for accuracy and currency. So the one we're talking about today is our circulation policy. So the last time that it was brought to you was June 2019, and it was approved by the Board of Library Trustees based on recommendations from staff. So we looked at our current policy, and it was evaluated by all library divisions. We reviewed staff files for any necessary updates, and we looked at policies from surrounding libraries as well. So here are some of the changes that we're proposing. There's an alignment with messaging regarding funding, establishing authority for temporary emergent changes, and adjustments that reflect current practices regarding amounts and expirations, possible future additions to services and content, and current practices for digital items. We provided some clarifications regarding what is acceptable proof of identification and residency, and assumptions of responsibility for materials usage, and then updating some of the legal citation that we use in the policy. So an example of this is in the policy, we've changed the amount for the overdue limit. Before it used to say $2, but now it's actually $10 before they can, have to pay to be able to continue to use items. And then there's also the example of the library customers assume responsibility for any risk associated with use of library materials, and that was in relation to things like our telescopes and our activity kits and stuff like that. So we don't anticipate any fiscal impact based on these changes. So then our recommendation is that the Library Board of Trustees approves the Administrative Policy 3.03, Circulation as presented. And I am happy to answer any questions.
Do we know how many times this was enforced recently, where folks had to pay, what was it, $2 prior to it?
It hasn't been. So we've been practicing the $10 standard. We just wanted to update that to make sure that it was reflected in the circulation policy. Yeah, in the master schedule of fees, it says $10 for the city. So.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Any other questions?
Thank you.
I'd like to request a motion to approve.
I would like to make a motion to approve this, the circulation policy. Yeah.
We'll go. If you could vote.
Sorry, I'll second. Thank you.
I'm just missing your vote.
The vote.
Motion carries 4-0.
Do we have any closing comments for this evening? Trustee Landman? She's thinking.
I think that was it, so, thanks.
Cindy Romero?
Sorry, good evening, everyone. I just wanted to remind everyone that this Saturday at 11:30, so the 22nd of March, Dr. Robert Duke, Bobby, he currently works as the Chief Curatorial Officer for the Museum of the Bible in DC. He is formerly the Dean of the School of Theology at APU, and he is leaving Glendora to head to DC. He will be here on Saturday discussing the Dead Sea Scrolls. Part of his doctorate was actually the history of the scrolls. So we are so honored to be able to have him with us on Saturday. And then we will also be giving away a couple of tickets to the Reagan Library for some people to go and visit the exhibit. So Saturday, 11:30,
11:30.
Bidwell. Thank you. Sorry to interrupt.
Thank you.
It's phenomenal. Anything else? Okay, seeing that there are no more comments for this evening, I adjourn this meeting at 7:36.